All right, what is up, LRG world? It is Dom joined with Drew, and welcome to our episode 2 recap of Survivor LU. What a tongue twister we got there. Today we are joined by Season 1 champion, reigning Nathan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
It's great to have you back finally after a long, it feels like just yesterday we did our finale
Yeah,
recap of season 1, and now we
for
are
real.
here. Season 2 has aired on Saturday. If you have not seen it, spoilers ahead. Highly recommend going and check it out because we got a lot happen this last episode. Drew, what were your initial reactions to this episode?
I'm excited. We have a lot to get into. Lots of inter-tribe dynamics, which are always interesting to talk
Mm-hmm.
about. So there's a lot of intermingling dynamics. Fun challenge, long challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's just get into it. Let's start off with the challenge. Dom, what were your thoughts on the challenge?
I thought it was a very cool challenge. That is something that I don't know. It's very tedious. It takes a lot of work, and I really like the way that it was. I don't know, done. I felt like it was a very even challenge for pretty much everybody there, and regardless of tribe division, regardless of gender, and I feel like it was just a nice solid challenge that I don't typically get to see in a lot of live games. So yeah, I thought the production team came up with something really cool. Yeah, Nathan, what do you think?
Yeah, that was definitely one of my personal favorites. We just wrapped season 6 actually, and honestly, that challenge is still one of my favorites we've ever done. It just really felt like Survivor. All three tribes got to the last block and it fell down. All three of them. So like that's exactly what you want.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really liked it. I think it played off pretty well. I remember when we designed it, we like wanted to try to figure out if how many blocks it was meant to be, like because you don't want to make it too hard, you don't want to make it too easy. So I think it worked out perfectly. One comment I will make about it is that for the TV tribe, we unfortunately lost a good amount of the footage. We don't know where it went. So that's why there wasn't too many scenes of the girls except for the very end. So yeah, we apologize for that, especially the TV people if you're watching. But we looked for it, we just couldn't find it. So but I think the challenge went really well, and it was very close there because, like, I don't know if you noticed, but like the girls were cheering right as the guys were on the last block,
Yeah.
so worked out. And so, of course, Kalahari fell on the last block, and they were so close. So loved that challenge and big fan of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think Dom and I had to stop ourselves from giggling there because we both thought the same thing. How did you lose footage and the challenge was still that long? Yeah, that was a really long challenge. It was a third of the episode, which was something, but it was a good challenge. So at
Yeah,
least it was a good challenge for it being that
yeah.
long. We did get a Nathan cameo in the challenge, so that was fun
I
as
know
well. We got
several
to see
times I
Nathan in the
noticed it
background.
myself. Yeah, it was funny. I was like, "Oh shoot, I look so young there." I
What's
think
it
Luke
like
or
watching
Dave were in there too. Maybe even Dawson. I don't know.
Yep.
Nathan? What's it like watching this? I don't want to say next generation because I'm sure you guys have a lot in store, but it feels like it. This next group of castaways take it on, and you're there sitting from the sidelines. What's it like to see that play out?
Yeah, it was a great experience. It was a ton of fun. I just remember like it was nice to not be on the side where you're constantly stressing about what's gonna happen that night. Like we knew it was gonna happen most of the nights. We knew it was gonna happen. So it was just nice coming in with like some steady, like, okay, I know what we're gonna do, here's how we're gonna do it, and so on. And I really liked the theme we built the season around. That helps too. So it was a lot of fun. I had a blast, and this episode I thought was really in this week of the game. I thought was really good for a second week. So that helped too.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely something I wanted to comment on because last episode we had a lot of people that kind of just felt like they were, I don't know, kind of walking on eggshells still. They weren't really sure how to act in front of a camera, didn't know how to give confessionals
Yeah.
too well. And we saw a lot of players come out of their shell this episode. And I got a few in mind that I'm sure we're going to be talking about. But I do think that we saw a lot of game dynamic emerge from all three tribes, a lot of players starting to begin their journey, I guess, so to
Mhm.
speak. And a lot of players that seem to have prematurely maybe ended their journey. And so we can lead right into that portion of the episode.
Let's
So
do it.
for those watching, what we saw happen was our all male tribe, our all female tribe have become completely safe, and our joint gender tribe has become the losers yet
The
again.
losers.
So
Yeah.
they will be
Very
attending
unfortunate.
tribal council, while the other two tribes decide to hold a powwow thanks to John.
Yes, let's talk about Maasai. I think Maasai is probably the easiest tribe to talk about this week to start off, because I think we kind of got less action from them this week, especially compared to week 1. So they win the challenge, and John, who is their elected leader, decides to call a meeting between 2 out of the 3 tribes and create an alliance of 12 out of 17 people.
Genius. Game
Genius.
changer.
If this was Big Brother, perfect.
Yeah, exactly. This is Big Brother. You're in great shape.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I mean, we heard everybody on both of the other tribes who we heard from was kind of like, no, this is not going to work. But they have the meeting, and John sets it up as this like, oh, once we get to a swap or to a merge, like it'll be easy to just pick off the other people. I'm like, there's only 4 people not with you. Like after this vote, there will only be 4 other people. So not sure on that one, John. Dom, what were your thoughts on this meeting?
I think having that idol kind of gives a very false sense of security. And we do see a lot of the time in Real Survivor where if you have an advantage, you kind of feel like you can play a little bit more freely, you know? You have that little extra safety net, and you don't know if it's going to catch you entirely, but you just feel like it's going to be there just in case you might need it. And meanwhile, John is, instead of jumping into a safety net, he's jumping out of a plane without a parachute, and he's got like an umbrella, and he thinks it's going to save him. I feel like at this point, he he's quite the character, and like I rooted for in season 1. I enjoy our good TV, and he is that. He reminds me of Chris Noble in a way from Ghost Island, bringing everybody to a water well and trying to convince them to join together. And so, I don't know. I feel like terrible gameplay, great television. I think we all know where it's going to go from here. So I'm looking forward to be proven wrong, or at least see a cinematic demise.
Yeah, I don't know what John's doing. I mean, first we see John sporadically pulling together these 2 groups. Then we get his confessional where he's like, I'm playing a social game. And if I'm targeted, it's because I'm being too social, and it's because my social game is failing. And I'm like, that is the opposite of what's happening. You're playing a strategic game only, and you're overplaying that, and that's why people want you out. And so the target for Maasai has kind of shifted from last week. We heard Andrew and Austin a little bit, and now it seems like everybody's like, well, yeah, we can get them out, but we need to get John out first. As long as John's out, then we can go back to, Andrew or Austin. And we don't really hear very much from Andrew this week. I'm not sure that Andrew has any confessionals this week.
He had one or 2 short ones, like very short.
We didn't hear from a decent amount of people this week.
Yeah, we didn't get anything from Chadwick either.
No Chadwick.
So we're not sure where Chadwick lands. But let's talk about Austin real quick. So
I think Austin had a week. Austin had a pretty...
He did. He lucked into a good week.
He walked into it, yeah.
And I feel like that's the best kind of gameplay that... I honestly feel him walking into that is best case scenario, because he was invited to be in it. He didn't like create anything. He didn't, he gets all the benefits of being in like what seems to be a tight 3-person alliance between tribes. And all he had to do was just walk past them, and they included him out of, it seems like, trust. It seems like some of them genuinely trust him, but also they can't really do anything because he's got all the dirt on him. So, he's got all the power without actually... I don't know if he knows what to do with it, but I hope he'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I think he kind of falls into this group, and he's not in immediate danger. I don't think he kind of falls into that position where he's he's not the one calling the shots. Like we see people like Delaney, and we see CK, and even Sophie, John. These people are out front and they're calling the shots right now, whereas Austin is the one who's like, he's in with the numbers. It seems like he has secret alliances that nobody knows about, but he's not the one who is visibly making the decisions. So he's probably not going to get fired at first. And while we did hear last week Andrew mention Austin's name, this week it doesn't seem like Austin has been mentioned as a target. So I like this a lot for Austin. I'm finding his confessionals to be fun. I'm still kind of finding it funny how he's like, well, pregame, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to play dumb. And then he's gone in and he literally like walked into an alliance. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I kind of love it. Anything?
We can rewind a little bit and kind of give like insight onto what Austin even stumbled into. Because Austin had a fantastic week, but I think 3 players really stood out as having a really solid performance, and that would be Delaney from the captain of the all-girls tribe, Tiwi, CK from
Kalahari.
I'm getting my
I wrote it down. I wrote it down.
and I blanked. Ethan is coming out swinging finally.
Yes. After Ethan's confessional last week, where we thought he was going to quit the game, and he was like, "These people just care so much more about this game than me." And then this week, every shot that we got of Ethan was him having a strategic conversation with people. So
I feel like this was a very big week for our caterpillars in the game.
Yes,
the ones that need the little metamorphosis push to push them into being that big, beautiful butterfly of a survivor player. We saw that happen a couple times in season 1. I think Madeline got some content this episode, which I was very happy about. And Ethan was definitely a champion, where they kind of take a step back and they go, this is serious, like people are taking this serious. And either I get on this train and I take it seriously with them, or I'm out soon, or I will be out later. And it's not worth it to spend that entire semester to get at, 7th or 8th boot when, put that much time into it. So I feel like this episode was a big week for a lot of players, whether we saw it or not. They came to a big realization that the game was starting and it was picking up. And so what we kind of saw, the product of that was this 3-person alliance that seemed to be formed. We don't know if it might be our first final 3 that's been made, that's been proposed at least, that actually seems decently solid. And it is between 3 members of all 3 tribes plus Austin.
Plus Austin.
So let's kind of go over the information that was, given back and forth.
Yeah.
How that is being, coming to fruition, and how it ultimately played into our boot this episode.
Yeah, so it seems like all 3 members of this alliance are kind of bringing forward, and Austin are all bringing forth the information they have. It seems like CK is having to do a lot of like, I know this information, but I have to pretend that I don't know this information and then be surprised when somebody else gives it to me, which is a good position. I did find out, so we see a lot through this episode and even a little bit in last episode that CK is getting all these pieces of information and, telling people and pretending to be surprised when other people tell him. We don't really see always where he's getting this from. And I think something that we're not being shown, something that I was let in on is we did get in episode 1 that CK and J-High are really good friends. And J-High is picking up a lot of this information and bringing it to CK. But because CK's tribe is the one who's going to tribal, obviously we're getting more screen time with him. So that's where CK is getting a lot of his information, is through that close friendship with J-High, which is serving him well, and in turn serving J-High well, because obviously we're not getting a ton of J-High right now. So I think that puts CK in a pretty good position. My only worry with CK right now about sharing, like, they all know that John has the idol and all the captains or the leaders got the idols. I just worry because it seems like CK is the one who's maneuvering everything right now, and I think people can see that. So I get a little worried, but it does seem like CK is, I mean, he has the relationships. He was able to, we'll talk about this in a minute, but like he was able to go into that conversation with Hallie and kind of force Hallie to say a name. I don't know. I like CK in this trio. It seems like Ethan is kind of the like idea person, CK is the information person, and then maybe Delaney's going to be the one who's going to be able to rally the numbers. We didn't really get very much strategically from Delaney, but it does feel like she's in a social position between that 3-person alliance, 3 or 4-person alliance, and the girls. So I like that a lot.
A really important move that was made during those conversations was to inform Delaney of Sophie's commitment to Jacob, which was a big reveal for Delaney and kind of made her reassess her entire relationship with her and sharing her idol clue from the previous episode. So that was a big piece of information that probably will affect how the girls tribe moves forward from there, the Tiwi tribe. So it clearly affected how the Kalahari tribe started voting. So where do we want to, we got a lot to dissect. Where should we start?
Let's talk about Tiwi for a minute.
Okay.
So I think Tiwi can be pretty well summed up that Delaney is in a power position. I think Delaney's going to pretty much decide what happens if the girls have to go to one of the next couple of tribal councils before a swap or a merge. We still have the trio of Victoria, Delaney, and Sophie, and they've all talked to each other continually. But obviously we see that Delaney's a little bit weary of Sophie. Maybe with Jacob out of the way now, they can solidify that 3 again. I'm not sure. And it seems like they want to pull in Madeline as a 4th without Madeline actually having talked to them strategically. They're just kind of like, well, we need a majority, so like let's pull in Madeline because nobody's talked to Madeline.
Yeah.
Which is fair. You know, that just goes to show how good her social game has been.
Right. Far. Oh yeah, Madeline is the queen of social game.
She has yet to under the radar.
Yet to compete in any physical challenges or any challenges whatsoever.
Yeah, that dice twist is brutal. That was brutal.
Already, yeah. She's already in a majority alliance, and we really haven't seen much of that. So hopes are high. High.
I have a feeling that if the girls lose immunity next week, or whenever is the first week that Madeline is going to have to vote, I think we're going to see something from her. I mean, it took Hallie a week to warm up. It's taken Ethan a week to warm up. I think that we could get some stuff out of Madeline when she realizes, like, oh, I might actually lose now.
True.
But also on Tiwi, we see Melanie and Haley solidifying their final 2, but they're being very obvious about it. The other girls are calling it out. I do wish that we would have seen them talking a little bit more before having the other girls be like, well, obviously they're a duo. I do wish that we would have seen, the formation of that. If that footage was available, but it seems like everybody on the girls is kind of like, yep, we're just going to vote out Melanie or Haley when we lose the challenge, if they lose the challenge. So I don't know, Dom, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting gameplay because they said apparently to Sophie, I believe, straight up that they were planning on, or Haley or somebody had mentioned voting for one of them, and I don't know.
Victoria, yeah.
For Victoria, and I don't know if that was like a play or like, just trying to like expose and start game talk, but that was a very, very poor move because, I mean, it was very evident and rampant on the guys' tribe last episode of what it was like throwing out names when you haven't even lost yet.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like that was a really bad move. It was a really good opportunity to have somebody hop in and take over for them. I guess like take their position in the tribe.
Yeah, it seems like the girls are trying to stay like tribe strong, but also like they're ready to vote if they need to. Victoria obviously is now like, well, I want Melanie and Haley out because they said my name. There's the distrust between Delaney and Sophie. Madeline is there. I think it could be interesting. I think it would be more fun probably to send the girls, as a 6 into a swap or into the merge just to see what happens, because I need the guys to go to tribal council just to see what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm liking this tribe dynamic. It seems like right now Delaney's in the power position, and we'll kind of determine what happens. I'm not sure really if there is a way that I see for Melanie and Haley to both make it through if they have to go to a vote next week. The only way I see is if Sophie finds out something and decides to flip and make it a 3-3, and then there's the idol, but I don't know.
I think the writing is on the wall for those two.
Yeah.
They could easily make it a 2-2 split or something. I don't know. But it's very I don't know. I don't think that they have the capacity to make a move in this situation. So I think that both Melanie and Haley are just sitting ducks on that tribe.
Yeah, I agree. Let's talk about Kalahari, the tribe that lost immunity. We get CK, of course, kind of being the driver again this episode, with Idris kind of as the right hand man.
Who, by the way, has also kind of come out of his shell a little bit.
Yep.
I mean, we don't really get to see a lot of game talk, but he is very perceptive with how the game is moving. I feel like he has a really good sense of it. I don't know. I think he is completely content in his position. So I don't know. I think we saw a decent episode from him compared to like what we've seen at least in pregame and in the premiere.
Yeah.
He's happy-go-lucky, but he's very aware of what's going on.
I agree, and Idris is another one of those players, like I was talking about earlier, who's not the one driving things out in front. He's just here for the ride, and so he's not going to necessarily be the one who's shot at first.
Yep.
And I like that a lot from Idris. So we come into this tribe, and it seems kind of obvious that Lily's going to be the boot because there's a 4-person alliance of CK, Idris, Jacob, and Hallie, who was kind of pulled in, and Lily's the only one left. So they're like, "Yep, we're voting out Lily. Cool." We don't really see Lily putting in that much work. I mean, we see a couple of discussions that Lily has with like CK, and then I think also Lily had maybe a discussion with a couple of them last week, but it seems pretty obvious that Lily's going out until CK hooks up with these other people from the other tribes, gets some information from J-High, uses that information, and all of a sudden Jacob's a target because Jacob and Sophie are best friends who almost dated, and they did not tell anyone.
Yeah, so I feel like, yeah, I agree. Lily didn't really do anything this episode to save herself. I feel like this decision was entirely CK's and really pushed that vote to benefit him in the best way possible. And his 3-person alliance, it separated Sophie and Jacob and kind of boosted Delaney's numbers, who is a number for CK. And I feel like it was just a really masterful cross-tribe chatting decision that really resulted in it. I feel like if it was normal Survivor and tribes weren't allowed to talk, we'd see Lily going like out the door. But this was tough. I feel like CK really came out swinging, and Hallie had a very good episode today.
My view this episode changed on Hallie.
I also agree. I feel like she really also came out swinging, and not necessarily as hard. She might be still playing t-ball, but at least she's at the game.
Yeah.
She's at the game, and she's going to participate. She's thinking, and she seems to be, at least in the confessionals, she seems to be the only one that has picked up the fact that CK is playing her as well as everybody. She actively knows that, and just having that idea in her head just kind of shows how socially aware she is of that situation, but also really elevates herself to kind of like, I don't know, begin some cross, like mental warfare with him, because if he's telling her stuff, like she's gonna, just give it right back. And I'm excited to see how that plays out, because it seems like they're aligned for now, but I foresee something big kind of happening, because she's not going to play nice when confronted, I feel like.
I agree. I think that this has potential to be a mess in a good way.
Yeah.
Because, yes, Hallie got what she wanted this week because CK pulled it out of her, and that was for Jacob to go. However, the way that CK got it out of her was by kind of planting seeds like, oh, do you want to vote out Lily? No. Do you want to vote out Adrice? No. Do you want to vote out Jacob? Yes. Okay, let's do that then. Yeah, great idea. Like your idea. Like I think CK is kind of running circles around her, but at least like she now is in the game. She did get what she wanted ultimately, but at least she's in the game now. From what we saw last week, I mean, she didn't even really say a name from what we saw. It was just kind of like, okay, you're voting with us. But I'm excited to see what Hallie has to offer. I kind of like that she's picking up the game and she's learning that like, yeah, people are playing. And I mean, we saw a couple people this week say like, I don't want to go home. Like even we heard Austin say like, I'm realizing this game is a lot more than I thought that it would be, but I'm not going to lose. Like I'm not going out. I'm not doing it. And we hear Hallie kind of say the same thing. Like I don't want to lose yet. Like I'm not going out yet. So I'm excited to see it. So CK
Nathan,
Plant.
I got a question for Nathan.
Yeah.
So we're seeing like really bold, sneaky gameplay from CK this early on, and as somebody who's run through the gauntlet before, but you also played a very kind of under the radar game. What do you perceive this kind of like pregame strategy straight out of the gate?
Yeah. So like for CK, it's interesting because a lot of the time the bold people that are talking to everyone are usually like the main target. But CK is not that at all. If anything, he's probably like the least one targeted person in the tribe. So it's interesting that the strategy he's taking is working really well so far. We'll have to see how that happens in the future. But for now, he's in great shape. I think it's dangerous though. Like he's on a fine line because if he messes up his story with all these people, or something goes wrong with his relationship with Jai, he could be in big trouble very quickly.
I
But
agree.
again, if the people that stick close to him the rest of the game, he has the numbers. So it'll be interesting to see with CK. I wouldn't play the way he is, but it's working for him, and so all the power to him. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm kind of like thinking about what you were just saying about the people who play hard and are like saying all the names are usually the targets. I'm kind of like thinking back on, the people that CK's on a tribe with are all very laid back people. They're all very laid back players. Jacob had never seen the game before. Adrice is just like there to be somebody's number two. Hallie doesn't know what's going on until somebody brings it to her. Lily we're seeing be pretty laid back and inactive. And then Rachel, who was voted out last week, we didn't really see talking to anybody. So CK's on this tribe with people where, him doing anything is him being the biggest player on the tribe.
Yeah.
So
True.
I do worry about him in a swap situation. What happens when CK is on a tribe with, John or Sophie or Delaney? Like, what happens with CK then? And these other people are playing as hard as he is.
Yep. If CK is on Masai, I think he'd be in really big trouble playing the way he is. So like if he were to be put on Masai originally and he plays the same way, I don't know. I don't know how things turn out in that scenario. I think he could be kind of be replacing, the John target almost a little bit if he was playing too hard over there. So it is interesting. Yeah, he's with people that are more laid back and it's working for him, but we'll have to keep an eye on it for sure.
I feel like CK is set until he has to make a decision that's not his. Say he ends up in a swap and he's down in numbers, but like his alliance wants to vote out one of his numbers and he doesn't want to do that. He's going to have to make a decision and make a lot of enemies in that process. So that's the only way that I kind of foresee him kind of getting exposed with all that stuff. But I also
or his sources just cross lines and they're like, wait, CK told me John has an idol. Oh, really? Because when I brought it up, he didn't know. Like
I kind of get the vibe though that he is chilling for now. Like I get the vibe that all of his like final twos or final threes are set on that, and they're kind of just latching onto that and playing accordingly. And I think he's chilling for at least maybe a swap.
Yeah,
until he has to start sweating.
He chose the right people to align with. Yeah.
Yep, I feel so. Like not only do they seem to be like they're both Delaney and Ethan are very competitive. However, they are both very go with the flow as well. So like he still kind of is in like that environment of like good strategy talk, but also good go with the flow.
Yeah,
Or
because he kind of chose
50%,
the
oh, well.
heads of the other tribes, which is impressive in its own. And then he has Jai on his like kind of his undercover radar, so that if Ethan is lying to him or saying something that isn't true, Jai can almost shoot that down. So he really does have so much information in the game. So
I
it'll
do
be
see
interesting to see.
I get nervous because there's sometimes that he has conversations. One moment specifically in this episode where he said something and then he goes, wait, forget I said that. Forget I said, and it's like, okay, like I really hope you're picking your words wisely because saying stuff like that really kind of it's gonna add up. It's
Mhm.
gonna, you got to be careful with who you say what to who because
Sure.
he also played a master class on Jacob. Let's be
Yep.
let's be real.
He did.
He basically came to him, asked him if he knew anybody, asked him if he, talked to anybody, provided his own information to Jacob, kind of knowing 75% chance that he's voting him out. This information that he has won't matter whatsoever, but he's just throwing that line out there to see if he'll bite, give him the information that he's looking for, and maybe be able to play with him. And it was just such a cool scene to
It
watch.
was.
Just, yeah. And I don't know, Jacob just was not ready for it.
Yep. I think one thing we're learning about CK as a player is he tells us he's going to do something and he plans it out and then he does it. We saw in his pregame, he said, I'm going to play like Russell Hantz where I'm what other people need me to be. He comes into the game and he's who each individual person needs him to be. For Hallie, he's the one who's enabling her to play the game. For, Idris, he's the shield in front of him. For other people, he's a sounding board. For Jai, he's the information collector. Like that's what we're seeing from CK. CK tells us something, he plans out how to do it, and he executes it, and then he moves on to the next.
So much like Russell Hantz, CK is in his first season, he's on a 2 win-losing streak.
Yep.
So basically, what we can predict is a CK, Idris, and Hallie final 3 with Hallie winning. Or Lily, I guess. My money's on Halle's. Anyway, bold predictions.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
We'll save the bold predictions for the end. That was just a side tangent. Let's move on.
Yeah. So
we dissected the Kalahari tribe a little bit. Do we want to move on to Masai for what they have?
Yeah, we don't really get a ton from Masai other than, we see Ethan talking a lot to these other players.
Yep.
Ethan is stepping up and playing. We don't get really anything. We don't get much from Jai. Obviously, we know that he's talking a lot with CK behind the scenes. We get a little bit of John, but we've kind of already talked about John. But I think Ethan was kind of the one who stood out this episode. Ethan and Austin.
Ethan's the one that I really wanted to talk about in this show because we kind of gave him some flack in the past. But he showed up and was ready to play. He came out. One of my favorite confessionals this season so far is him saying, I'm gonna play. Like I'm voting John out. Like that's my goal. Like I don't like. He said something to that line of, marking his target. And the best part about it is John doesn't know. I don't think John has any awareness of it.
I don't think John knows that anybody is thinking about targeting him right now. I mean, for John to be bold enough to say in a confessional, if I go out, it's because I'm failing at the social game.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. What did you think of Ethan's emergence in as a player this episode, Nathan?
Oh man, Ethan's story is so interesting so far because, like you guys mentioned earlier, it almost seemed like he wanted to quit. Like he's like, this game is just too much. But then I think it's hilarious how this episode you kind of can see in the confessionals he's getting more and more into the game. And when he said I just want to get John out, I thought that was hilarious. Like, he's like, I don't want to win. I just want to get John out.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I think his story has already developed a ton in 2 episodes. So it's going to be interesting when they have to go to tribal. If Masai does go to tribal as a tribe, it'll be interesting to see what he decides to do, kind of where he decides to play a line. Because once again, he's got options now. He wants to get John out, but Andrew's also
right, and we also have seen Ethan and John having conversations.
True.
So, I mean, honestly, if the guys go to tribal, if Masai goes to tribal, anything could happen. Especially with that idol being in play. Like
exactly.
I think Chadwick is probably fine. Jai is maybe okay. Ethan
I
is
think our big
probably
targets.
fine, but
Yep. I think our
those
big
other
targets
three,
would be Austin, Andrew, or John.
Mhm.
And I feel like Andrew could be fodder just from an idle play. However, I feel like I don't know. I like everybody is so set on getting John out that it's bound to get out because we don't know where loyalties lie. Andrew seems like he's still set on getting Austin out.
Mhm.
Chadwick is my bet on Chadwick is that he's still buddy buddy with John after finding
Yep.
that idol with him. And then you kind of have Ethan, Austin, and missing one. Oh,
Jay High.
Jay
Yeah.
High, who are all kind of connected to the same person, CK.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like that's a solid 3, but I don't know if
Maybe
they're
CK calls in a shot on a tribe that's not even his.
yeah,
Could be.
maybe. Could be. I'm here for it. It's
Yeah.
very interesting inter-game dynamics that you don't really see unless it is like a live game all-star season on a college level.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I'm here for it for now.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
Is there anything else we want to discuss before we kind of get to the vote and then
I think we hit all the parts. We
Yeah.
covered the tribes. Very interesting
all.
dynamic on each one. For the
Mhm.
vote, we saw a pretty unanimous vote, I guess. Unanimous
4-1.
vote for Jacob,
Yep.
who looked blindsided.
Yes.
Mhm.
From what I understand, he did not know that he was getting votes.
No.
So yeah, big blindside pulled by CK, and again, we keep talking up CK. CK could, if this comes back to haunt him, if we get into a situation where he's swapped with Sophie or something, and that's brought up. CK has plausible deniability. Well, Hallie wanted to do it, like it was Hallie's idea. So
True.
You can also very easily kind of play dumb and just be like, "Oh, I heard from another tribe that tribe leaders had idols or something."
yeah,
Like there's so much like I don't think Jacob knows the game enough to like to have provided a lot of
yep,
to provide a lot of things. I don't know. Jacob doesn't know the game enough, and which in turn provides a lot of things to be able to like use against him, I guess, and
True.
like
Yep.
being like for a reason why he was voted out.
But for somebody that had not known the show at all, I think Jacob actually played a very good game.
I
I
would
think
agree.
he unfortunately got screwed by CK just kind of wanting to
Yep.
go hard. And if Jacob is on Masai, it's another kind of one of those alternate realities. If Jacob's on Masai, I think he could have gone very far. Because he was very likable, and even though he didn't know the game super well, it seemed like he started to understand. He got into an alliance very quickly. And most people would not have just taken him out because they want to take him out. So I think he played a really, really good game. It's just unfortunately things didn't go his way.
I think it's just another casualty of having a 6-person tribe. You can only like look at so many people, and at that point, everybody is gonna pick on whatever's your weakest point to do that to go for you.
Yeah, I mean, who was second boot in season 1? Was it Addie Grace?
Yes, it would have been Addie Grace.
Yeah.
And she was kind of one of those too, a little bit. I mean,
it's somebody who was playing, but they weren't in the majority, and their early decisions kind of messed them up. But all right, Dom, let's get into bold predictions for next week.
Well, I already had my one bold prediction for the season finale.
So Hallie wins against
Hallie wins
and CK.
CK comes back for Heroes vs. Villains, and then he'll come back for LU Redemption Island, and then he'll return like 10 years later for the Australian LU version.
Oh my.
That's my bold prediction. Your turn, Drew. No, I'm kidding.
No.
So next week, I'm really interested to see. I don't know what's going to happen. These lack of next time on Survivor LU are really messing with my foreseeable futures for this series.
Yes, we will get that later in the week.
So
from what I understand.
We'll get that later in the week. However, I guess just going on a whim, I have a feeling if the girls' tribe goes to tribal, I think Haley is in trouble. Out of Haley and Melanie, I think.
Well,
Haley
here's the thing,
be
because one of the girls that's in the majority have a talk with Melanie? I don't remember who it was, and they were like, "Yeah, Melanie was like not being forthcoming with information."
However, they also said Melanie told them that Haley was the one that threw out their name. So
yeah, that's fair.
my prediction. I feel like out of the two, they're going to pick the one that is throwing out names. And if Haley is that person, I think Haley's in trouble, which means another week safe for Madeline. That's all.
Right.
Well,
I actually wanted to talk about Madeline because I think we can do our predictions tribe by tribe. So, we haven't heard any of the girls have idol. I mean, aside from Sophie, we haven't heard the girls talk about what happened with Delaney's idol clue. All we know is Delaney doesn't have it. And, Nate kind of gave us the heads up last week that, well, you'll see what happens with the girls' idol clue. So I think there might be some interesting dynamics to come in the future with that idol clue. Maybe Delaney gives the idol clue to the whole tribe and something happens, but I could see Madeline being a casualty of just not playing. So I think we either lose Madeline or Haley if the girls.
Madeline's not going anywhere. That's my
Madeline has the
prediction.
Madeline has the best social game right now.
That is a fact.
She's so under the radar. She's not even on the radar.
Well, so if we look at it objective, like Victoria had her name thrown out. She's clearly aligned with Sophie, who is pretty decently aligned with Delaney. That's 3 people right there. It's very smart of them to bring in a 4th. And it sounds like they know Melanie and Haley are, it sounds like they're in alliance together. And that's just the assumption on the tribe. Whether they are as close as they are being perceived to be, that's still a question. However, they need to get a number. And Madeline is that perfect number. And so she's going to, that's my, they're going to ingrain her in that alliance, go from there. Sorry, Haley, I think you're going.
I agree for the most part. All right, let's move on to the Maasai tribe. If Maasai loses immunity, what happens? I think it's pretty clear John goes. That's not a bold prediction.
I don't know if John goes. I feel like John plays an idol and Andrew will go.
Is that a bold prediction?
That's my bold prediction. If Maasai goes, I feel like there'll be a split play, leaving Chadwick out of the vote, and they will try to get Andrew in, and I feel like it'll get messed up somehow. And
do you think they know that Chadwick and John are close, though? Because if anybody tells Chadwick about the plan to vote out John, obviously Chadwick's going to John, and John's playing the idol. So if anyone leaks anything to Chadwick, then the idol's being played.
That's kind of what I meant. Chadwick will be on the out of that vote. Like he will, like they might confront him, which will then in turn give a cue to John. Cue John playing an idol. Cue fodder going home. Unless John gets paranoid and flips the target onto somebody else. Yeah, Rob's pre-merge king going home.
It could be a snipe on somebody like Ethan or something if John catches wind of anything.
I don't know, man. I think John. I don't know. I feel like his sights would be set. I don't know if they'd have the numbers.
I think my bold prediction is going to be if the guys lose, John doesn't play his idol out of pride and goes out with an idol. Okay, let's talk about Kalahari. If Kalahari loses another immunity, what happens, Dom?
I don't want to think about it.
I think Lily just goes out.
I think Lily would just go out just because it seems like the 3 are very tight.
Yep.
Whether I don't know. I don't. It depends. It depends. We don't see Hallie or Lily really connecting that well, but we see Hallie still not wanting to go for her. So it's kind of like this confusing dynamic of like, does she just not want to like go for her because like she likes her more than Jacob or what? Because the only people it seems like she's talking to are CK and Idris for whatever reason. So my gut tells me that she sticks with the guys, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe next episode we have a swap and everybody just kind of drops their buffs, and that'll be my bold prediction. Wash everything I just said. That's my bold prediction. We're dropping buffs. We're merging into 2 tribes or swapping into 2 tribes. What will that put us at? 15?
We're at 16 currently.
16? 2 tribes of 8. That's my bold prediction. Signed, sealed, delivered. We're taking it home to the bank.
Done.
Season 2. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right.
We already have our final 3 set.
Yep, we have our final. Just release all the episodes right now. We already have a guest.
Just release the finale. Yeah.
I can say that the season gets very interesting. There's some twists that come up that shake up the game big time, and so it's gonna be a ride. I can tell you that. So I mean, I can't get any more prediction, unfortunately.
Right.
But
The guys have to roll the dice for the next challenge.
Okay.
Because there are only 4 people on Kalahari, will the guys have to roll the die twice to sit 2 people out?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah,
Okay.
and then if it's they'll roll
Brutal.
twice. Yeah, if I
That could
remember.
be interesting.
That's
That
a
could be
really fun
interesting.
twist I have. I really like that twist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's an interesting one, and it's funny that, or it's unfortunate, not more so than funny, that Madeline was the one person that didn't need that to happen. And it happened.
Watch now the next challenge be like not her strength, and so she volunteers to sit out the next challenge, and it
No.
becomes the Madeline sit out bench.
Nope.
I don't know.
She's
I don't know if the girls would let her do that, even if she wanted to.
All right, let's get into player of the week points. So for people who haven't seen this, I mean, this is only our second week doing it. Each week, Dom, myself, and our guest will be giving out some player of the week points from who we thought, had the best episode or whoever's in the best position, whatever our own individual criteria is. We will each be giving out 6 points. One person we will give 3, one person 2, and one person 1. So let's go ahead and each give our 3 points. Dom, who is getting your 3 points this week?
my top person. Comes as no surprise. Mr. CK himself will be getting my full 3 points. Played a very flawless episode. Again, I don't know where he's going to be at because it's this early in the game, but he ran circles around his tribe, and it seems like he's at least starting to jog circles around the rest of the cast. So, he's getting my full 3 points this episode.
Awesome. Nathan, who's getting your 3 points this week?
Yeah, I don't think I can be the one person that says something crazy, because I think CK just had such a good week. So CK is going to get my 3 points as well. I think he deserves them. I think that it could be dangerous. It could be a dangerous 3 points that he gets, but so far it's working really, really well. And I wish I could break up the 3 points into like 2 to CK, and then I give 1 to J High, as you mentioned earlier, because I do think a lot of CK's game is relying on J High right now.
Well, you still have 3 more points to give.
I don't know if I can give him a second or third place, since we didn't see too much of him, but I guess in my mind, 1 point goes to J High out of CK's 3, because I do think some of it does go to J High's credit, because I think J High is doing a lot, some of that work, that busy work for CK. So
sure. Before we started this recap, I was gonna try and justify giving my 3 points to somebody else, but after talking through this, I can't justify giving it to anybody but CK. So my 3 points are going to CK, and let's move on to our 2 points. I'm going to give my 2 points this week to Delaney. I think that Delaney is in a great position, both on her tribe and not on her tribe. We haven't seen so we've seen a lot of kind of back and forth of people throwing out each other's names between Masai and Kalahari, but we haven't seen anybody throw out names on Tiwi who's not on Tiwi, which is good for Delaney. She has the idol clue. She's in the majority on her tribe. She's in a cross-tribe alliance with Ethan and CK. I think Delaney is probably she had a great week last week. She had a great week this week. Nobody's throwing out her name. I think Delaney is definitely deserving of my 2 points. Dom, where are your 2 points going?
My 2 points are it was tough to decide between my second and third place, but I really want to give credit where credit is due, because it's really impressive to come into a game of Survivor and play, a really like smart game like we see CK playing. But that comes with previous knowledge of the game and kind of knowing what you're getting yourself into. I think it is bigger credit to give it to somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing, but grabs the game by the horns and runs with it. And I feel like this was Ethan's emerging week to do that. And that's why I'm giving him my 2 points, because he came from not really knowing what was going on to somebody who is in an active power position in the game. So I kind of feel, comparing my third place pick to last week's performance, I feel like he had a bigger boost, and I appreciate that much more in the gameplay, because it takes a lot to turn on for a player. A lot of players can sit back and just watch, let the game kind of go around them. It takes a lot to turn that back on and run with it. So that's why I'm giving Ethan my 2 points.
That's awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. Nathan, where are your 2 points going?
I think I'm going to give my 2 points to Hallie. I
Oh,
think
wow.
I know it's a little bit surprising there. I
Mhm.
think that solely figuring out because as far as I remember when she was casted, she didn't know too much about the game. I think she watched a little bit. So to get that awareness that CK is playing them and not using that information right away, sitting on it for a while, and then maybe using it in the future, I think is very impressive that she's been able to figure that out. And I also think it's impressive that she's just been able to sit back and her name's not being thrown out. She's not like
Mhm.
Lily where she's being like, oh, well, we can take out Lily. No, Hallie's in good shape. So I think that's impressive, especially from last week when we didn't see as much of her game and what she wanted to do. This week, I just think she had a really good week. And I think that awareness that CK is playing her, but she knows it and she's going to use that information to her power is impressive. So she gets my 2 points.
I
I
totally agree.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that at all. I feel like Haley will be catching some of my points later on in the season.
Nathan, where's your last little baby 1 point going?
I think I'll give my last point to Ethan. I think that his arc is just impressive from almost saying I don't want to play this game to now really starting to get into it. He's in good position. He's got allies. His name isn't being thrown out from anyone as far as I know, except for John, of course. But it seems like John is on the outs right now, so we'll have to see where that goes, of course. But so I think he's going to get my 1 point. And we'll see where he develops after this week. But I think he had a good week. So
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm torn between a few people for my last point, but I think, I gave my 3 to CK because I think he's best positioned overall. I gave my 2 to Delaney because I think she had probably the best week, in my opinion, this week. So I'm gonna, I don't know. I'm gonna give my 1 point to Austin. I think that Austin accidentally really upped his status in the game this week, and I don't see him being a main target anytime soon. It seems like the only person kind of looking at him is Andrew, and as far as we're aware, Andrew will probably be gone sooner than him anyway. And Austin had his moment this week where he realized, like, I don't want to go out. Like, I want to play. Like, I want to stay in and I want to play. And I think that Austin, like I said, stumbled into a great week and a really good positioning in the game moving forward, especially if we do have a swap soon. So that's where my 1 point is going. Dom, what about you?
Yeah, compared to last week, I feel like there's an argument to be made for a lot more people, whereas last week it was very clear cut. My picks are kind of clear cut in the sense that this episode really centered around one group of people coming together. So I have to give my last point to the third of that tripod of Delaney. So Delaney will be getting my 1 point. The only reason she's below the other two, she didn't go to tribal. And it seemed like she was the one that benefited the most out of everybody because it seemed like she might have been in the worst position out of everybody of those three. I felt like just her getting that information on Sophie was a big, like, oh shit, I fucked up last week, like, oh, I gave the information to the wrong person. So I feel like this was a big wake up call for her, and I'm really excited to see how she maneuvers this new alliance that she has on her current tribe. I think she, is a really, really strong contender. And my honorable mentions are everybody that you guys said. I thought
Yep.
Hallie had a really good episode. Austin had a fantastic episode as well. But it's just these three are kind of in a very significant, power position in this game. And so I had to give a respect where respect's due. But I 100% can definitely see myself giving like all these players points later on, and it'll get a lot more difficult. So I'm excited. I'm excited to have some inner debate on who to do this for.
Yeah, in the future we're going to be giving all of our points to Sophie. So don't get your hopes up too much. No, I'm ready. I'm hoping this, honestly, one thing that I meant to mention earlier, I'm hoping that, losing Jacob kind of ignites Sophie and we get like a kind of a Sophie Warpath moment where she is enacting her revenge. So I do hope that we see that. That's a bold prediction for you. I want Sophie Warpath.
Okay. I could see it.
They could.
He's got an idol. Like, I mean, it's his idol. So, might as well use his idol to avenge Jacob.
True.
Might as well.
I was going to say imagine if he had the idol, but I don't think he would have played it. So
no, I don't think so either. I think he was legit blindsided. You know a good blindside face when you see one.
All right. Anything else we want to cover about this episode?
I'm all set with this episode. Nathan, when can we expect the next episode?
As far as I know, next Saturday we will have another episode. I believe at 7 p.m. So, as far as I know, I'm not 100% positive. I'm pretty sure that the schedule will be remaining the same, and we will have episode 3 out on Saturday.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan. Drew, Nathan, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was so fun to recap, as always, Survivor LU Season 2 at odds. And to make sure that you're up to date, please make sure to subscribe to their YouTube channel as well as follow their social media for all the fun stuff that they have going on. But yeah, it's been a blast. I'm excited for week 3 of the game. And hopefully we get some bigger, badder blindsides going on. But yeah, that's all for me tonight. I hope everybody has a great Monday night. Happy last week of May. Let's finish strong. All right.
For sure.
Bye, LRG world.
See ya.